Okay, this is take 400 of this video, so we're gonna start very weird now. Special features, special deals, that's what this video is gonna be about. It's a topic that is rarely talked about or discussed on most YouTube developer channels for a simple reason. Most of us, smaller developers, indie developers, one-man teams like me, or smaller teams or hobbyists that do it part-time, most of us cannot get into special features. But they are very important. Hey, I'm Pascal from Orangepixel. Welcome to another video. Now I know these type of videos attract new followers and viewers, and welcome to the channel. I've been running Orangepixel since 2004, full-time. Early years struggling, then it became easier and easier. Then every now and then there's a little bit of a downturn and then an upturn. That's pretty much how business works, I guess. However, over most of those years and the upturns and the times that it went very well, I had special features happening to one or more of my games, and they are very important. And this is the topic for this week's video, because right now Humble Bundle has a bundle with 12 of my games in it. This is one of those special features. It's very hard to get into these type of things or invited to it or allowed to it, but they are so important over all these years. So let's talk a little bit about special features, deals, and those type of things, and what's out there and what's important, and can we still get in there as small developers? I think it's a cool topic. Let's go. I had a whole thing. I had a lot. I typed everything I wanted to say in this video. I'm just gonna use it for notes. I'm not gonna read all this or talk about all this. I'm just gonna wing it like I always do, because I prefer to do it like that in these videos. All right, let's start with what most YouTubers, YouTube game developers and analytic people and everything around it, around this topic tell you, is that you need a huge amount of wishlist to sell your game on Steam. You need the right capsule art, which is like magical stuff. You need a good trailer, the perfect screenshots, the right description. You need to create games in a certain genre, because they sell a lot more copies than the genre that nobody likes to play. Those things are important, and you should always look and try to do that as best as possible. Not just create your game, but also that part of it. But the one thing nobody mentions, special features and deals, special things happening. A special feature at the Steam page, at the front page. I know this is unobtainable for most of us, because you really need to sell a lot of copies already to get on there, or be a very big company that can actually talk to Valve. Let's just think about this. Steam does, I think I looked it up, about 10 billion, or last year they did $10 billion revenue. Would a company like that completely depend on their own algorithm to make sure the money keeps coming in? Or is the algorithm just there for the sea full of smaller games and things that will slowly bubble up through this algorithm, and once they bubble above the sea line, Valve can pick it up and do something with it manually? Or if a very big ship comes along floating on top of that sea of small indie game developers, the big ship being a big AAA company that has a new title, I could tell you there are many buttons and options that Steam manually makes those games appear at the front page of as many eyeballs as possible. Now, those features on the Steam front page are not available for everybody, but there are many other things that also are special features and deals, and special things that will show your game to more players that you can reach by yourself. Let's talk about a few others. Okay, so as I mentioned at the beginning, right now I have a couple of games, 12 of my currently available games on many platforms, available in a Humble Bundle. I have been in Humble Bundles before. For those that don't know what it is, it bundles a bunch of games, sells it for a very steep discount, but a portion of that, a percentage, also goes to charity. A cool thing, bundles started, I guess, 2010, maybe a little bit earlier than that. And at that point they were very much focused on getting smaller independent games into their bundles. Probably mostly, I guess, because AAA studios were not interested in it. So there were no bigger games available. So these bundles were amazing. It was very new, and there would only be I think one bundle at a time. Now they have so many different bundles at the same time, which made for a lot of extra money for the few developers that got into those bundles. I had a couple of games in mobile bundles over the years. They did decent numbers, but I don't think they have mobile bundles anymore, or very rarely. It was for Android versions. It worked. I had a couple of games in there. Again, a little nice extra boost on revenue on those existing games that were already a few years old at that time. So the bundles have been interesting. Another type of featuring is on the App Store. Of course, Steam has it, but Apple has it as well. They pick games manually. Game of the day, I think it's called, and that means you are at the front page on the App Store on every iPhone and iPad that opens up the App Store that day. Trust me, that used to be a lot of numbers. There's still a lot of people opening it, but the deals are less interesting, I think, or the featuring is less interesting with all these things. Over the years, the featuring, the amount of revenue you made from it, or you can make from it, has slowly been dwindling down a little bit, which is a shame. But you would be on the top, the front page, and then the whole week you would slowly slide down one slot, but you would still be there. So for a week long, I think some of my games doubled the revenue they already did in the previous years in just 1 week. And I had it for a few games that launched, and then I had a feature 1 or 2 weeks after launch, and there would be a huge spike that was comparable to the launch spike. And with the help of those special features, most of my games turned a profit, or at least broke even very quickly, and then over the years after that have turned a profit, and now they're in a bundle for PC. Same games that actually had all these features before, again making some extra money. Now I recently started thinking about all the recent years and how the years went for me, and the best years were the years where I got a special feature or something happening to my games. This year is no different, I guess. We now have a Humble Bundle, and as this video goes live on Thursday, I can tell you now that Heroes of Loot is available on Amazon Prime as a free download. So check that one out as well. Also a special feature, I guess, that is normally not open to smaller games and smaller developers, but that's a cool one. So yeah, that should be live right now. If I can edit it into this video, I will. If not, check out games.prime.com, I think it is. Let me check the Game Prime. Gaming.amazon.com. Prime Gaming. That's there should be Heroes of Loot there as this video goes live, which is another special feature. Now the problem, as I mentioned, for these special features and smaller developers like me and probably you, is that they are locked behind many doors, and often we do not get into those doors. We don't even get our foot in the door. It's very difficult. Of course, the problem is also there is just a lot more content, a lot more games are released, and the other side of it is that the bigger game companies and the AAA games, they also want and need these special features. They also need to make extra revenue. A lot of these companies are pushing out extremely awesome games, but they're not surviving on the revenue of those games. There are many game studios being closed left and right since the last couple of years. There's a lot of games that are being cancelled before they even release. All these big companies are trying to get the same kind of deals that smaller developers like me and you are also trying to get into. And that makes it very hard for us, because obviously a Humble Bundle is more likely to grab a AAA game that had already sold billions into their bundle, because for charity that certainly attracts a lot more users or a lot more people willing to buy that bundle. And there's also a force. These AAA studios or big publishing companies, they simply have a lot more games in their catalog, so they can say, grab this huge game we have. We want some extra attention for this huge game. We'll give you 10 smaller games if you take this big game, and we'll have the deal. And that's pretty much why I think for most smaller developers, especially like me, I've never had a hit game. My games are doing well. They're all profitable because I make them cheap and they have been doing great, but not in such a way that bigger companies like this, or that own these features, Amazon, Steam, Apple, Google, whoever you want to mention, they don't look at me, they don't see me. I'm a speck of dust waiting for this door to open, and then hopefully I can get into the door and get my games in a special feature. And sadly, this is the state for most smaller developers, which I know that's the bummer to hear. This whole video talks about this cool thing that will actually allow you to survive in games longer than just releasing 1 or 2 games. But on the other hand, it's very hard to actually use this or somehow use this to your advantage. So let's see if we can maybe find a way to use this to our advantage. Okay, so a very simple starting place to get into these special features: contact these big companies. Honestly, it is that simple. It's just going to be rough to get through it. I contacted, or have been contacted, both actually, by Humble many times in the previous years, but usually those conversations ended with we want this game, and then it died off. So then I contacted again, what's happening, where are we with the bundle? Yeah, we're deciding to go another way, and your game doesn't really fit this way, so end of conversation. This happened multiple times. That doesn't mean you shouldn't try and you should stop trying. Just there are always these special features happening. They have so many bundles these days. They're always trying or always needing new games in those bundles. So it doesn't matter. You can always try and contact them. Same with Steam. You'll need very good statistics or very good numbers and reviews to get anything done. But who knows, you might actually be lucky and contact them at the right time and the right person responds, and you might get through. I have seen game developers like me, very small teams or solo developers, who have gotten their game into a special weekly deal, front page featuring, things like that. It can be done. It's just very small chance, but that doesn't mean you should not try. This is really the part of doing business in the game industry, not just creating games and releasing them and moving on. Try to do something with your existing games. And I mentioned this last week, selling your IP or things like that, don't do it. At some point you might actually need a whole big catalog of games. So selling off IP and not owning those games is just a stupid mistake. Unless you're close to retirement. But I think I'm one of the older game developers, indie game devs out there. I think I still have 18 years to go in the industry. Alright, so let's not make this a very depressing video. There are also very small, tiny special features. And most of us know these things. Steam events. And I'm not talking about Summerfest, Winterfest, Nextfest and sales and those things. There are many third-party, run by publishers, other game developers or communities, special events that also happen on Steam. Right now, Tiny Teams is starting in 1 or 2 weeks, August the 7th, I think. Regulators, my latest game, will be in that event, so there is a little featuring happening again. It might be very tiny, tucked away somewhere, but it's a special feature that attracts people, and if your game is in it, that's a win-win. So those type of features can still be gotten, but they also are becoming very difficult because a lot of us are trying to get in the same type of events. I had Gauntlet of Power in a roguelike event once, I think twice. I had Space Grunts, my upcoming game that I'm working on right now, in Turn-Based Festival a few weeks ago. So it is possible. Create a good game, a good demo, and contact these events. I'll put a link in the description that has a calendar which is updated frequently, which has all these events. So check it out and see if you can just contact these events and get your game into it. It's the easiest special feature you can find for your game available to smaller developers. I urge you to try that one, although that probably means we'll be fighting for the same spots at some time or some point in the future. That's just part of the business, I guess. And for the bigger features, the big stuff, the Steam front page, the Amazon Prime store, all those things, it's rough. I won't lie to you. You either need a hit game already, so people know you, or you just need to be known in the industry. Maybe you come from a big AAA game and you can use that and have contacts here and there so people know what you're about and who you are. Or in my case, these days, this year, I needed a big friend. And I have talked about this before. There's a video where I talk about it, a distribution deal with Handy Games. Long-time friends. We've been cooperating on my mobile games for a decade or more. We're now doing it on my PC games. And it's been very interesting. It's been a fun ride, and doors that were completely shut for me the last 2 years, I guess, those doors have now been opened again. I can actually get my games in there every now and then, and that's a good feeling because my games are fun. I know this sound, I don't want to sound arrogant, and I think it sounds arrogant if you say something like that, but I've just been working on my older games, getting a few of my older games up and running just for these type of deals in the future. They're still fun. Sure, some of them are getting outdated. They're 15 years old now, or 12, 13 years old. So sure, they show their age, but they also show a lot of gameplay and fun. And I'm still enjoying it, and I know there's an audience out there for it. And I know these games will hopefully also get into some of these features and hopefully entertain a bunch of new players, and hopefully they will get more familiar with Orangepixel and dive into the Orangepixel universe. Because for those that don't know or forgot about this, all my games are connected. Most games have some sort of time traveling happen where one character moves into the world of one of the other games. There are bloodlines here and there. The Regulators, the Gunslugs, they're connected. Space Grunts often visit the world of Gaunt of Power back in the Stone Age of the Orangepixel universe. It's all connected and intertwined, and that's what I'll keep doing, and keep creating new games in this whole universe. So hopefully once people figure that out, they'll want to try all my games, and luckily for me they are now out there and in many different ways and many different formats, and you can find them on many different platforms, and hopefully they will show up in special features and deals in the future. Alright, I think I covered all the important stuff up to this point. And that's it for this week's video. Hope it was interesting, hope it was informative for other game developers, and of course make sure to check out my games in the Humble Bundle or grab Heroes of Loot on Amazon Prime Gaming right now. You literally have no reason not to get any of my games this week. Like, there's no reason for it unless you completely don't like gaming or my games or me as a person. In that case, thanks for watching this whole video. Not sure why you did that. Like, subscribe, comment below, and for all those idle watchers who watched it up to this point and have nothing else to say and comment, but do want to help this YouTube algorithm to bubble up this video to the top, I'm making this thing longer and longer, which obviously means that I have no keyword for this week's video. In the comments below, if you have nothing to add, put to this week's keyword Handy Games. Hi, Handy Games. Put it in there. Hi, Handy Games. Thanks again for the featuring and the help on these things. And I will see you all next week. Bye. Oh, before I forget, new Space Grunts 3 demo is on Steam right now. Check that out as well. It got some cool additions. I found my creative mojo after last week's video. So check out the new demo on Steam, Space Grunts 3. It's in the description below. Everything is there. Somehow, somewhere. See you next week. Bye.